Hi and welcome to the second lesson in this topic on the growth of Arab nationalism. The focus this week is still during the First World War. It is what was the Sykes-Picot Agreement, and the starter activity to do on the assignment is what can you see in this image? Take the time to have a proper look at it and write down as many thoughts as you can. Doesn't matter if they're not correct. The learning objective is to question how open and honest the European powers actually were during the First World War when we think about the Middle East. Everyone should be able to list territories that Britain and France were due to gain as part of this secret Sykes-Picot agreement. Most of you should be able to do that, but also explain why it angered the Arabs when they actually heard about it a couple of years later. Finally, if you're really pushing yourself, some of you should be able to do all of that as well as judge whether Britain was justified in making so many promises and agreements during the First World War. If you're doing the hard level of the quiz, you should be able to achieve that. And just as a heads up, you'll be learning not just about the Sykes-Picot Agreement, but about some other agreements as well. Keywords for today's lesson include Arab nationalism. Remember, it's the focus for this whole unit. It's a desire to unite all Arab peoples into a single free state. It became really important during the First World War. For the first time in centuries, remember, Arab people had the opportunity for freedom. Sharif Hussein is one of our key people in today's lesson. He was the guardian of the holy places, and at a time when the Arabs didn't have their own country because they'd been ruled by the Ottomans for centuries, he was a key Arab leader. Some other key people include Sir Henry McMahon. He was a British colonel and high commissioner in Egypt, and he actually signed an agreement with Sharif Hussein at this time about the possible freedom of the Arab people. You'll learn about that today, as well as Francois George Picot and Mark Sykes on the right. Both of them were key foreign policy advisors to the French and the British government respectively, and it's their names, Picot and Sykes, that gives its name to today's lesson, the Sykes-Picot Agreement. So, what is the big idea for today's lesson? If you're not part of the live lesson, hopefully this will help. The First World War lasted much longer than anyone expected. They thought they'd be done within months, but it went on for years. The European powers were therefore desperate for victory. They were prepared to do anything in order to win, spending huge sums and sacrificing millions of lives. They also had quite conflicting interests, even though they're on the same side, for example, Britain and France. Britain and France wanted some control over the Middle East after the war in order to protect their empires and become richer. So France in particular was worried that if Britain was fighting against the Ottomans in the Middle East and it was successful, it would actually gain domination in this part of the world. Therefore, there were several secret agreements. Britain and France made several during the war about what should happen to the Middle East. They made them with each other, but also with other people. Your job today is to find out what did these agreements actually say and what did it mean for the people of this region, the Arab people. So, you're at the end of the video. What you can now do is carry on with the Microsoft assignment quiz, choose the level as usual, and if you finish, there are some extension tasks, but for the moment just focus on your core learning.